This is macOS Ken.
Apple adds 4 new manufacturing partners in the States, more changes in blankOS 26.4, and Mac Pro gets put out to pasture. It is Friday, the 27th of March, 2026. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from macOS Ken, brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by NordLayer. Secure your network, block threats to your business, and save with offer code macOSken-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSken. This show is also sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform for growing your presence online. For years, a lot of us were happy to grow our online presence in somebody else's garden. Stretching that metaphor, what do you do when those gardens get overgrown or poisoned? When people you might not want to be associated with start traipsing through them, or when the people who run them turn them under or burn them down? Your place online should be yours. You can make that happen with Squarespace. Build your site with their award-winning templates, or use Blueprint AI, the AI-enhanced Squarespace builder. Once your site's been built, Squarespace will help folks find it. Each Squarespace site is built to be noticed with meta descriptions, an auto-generated sitemap, and more. If users are looking for something like you, Squarespace will help them find you. Check them out for yourself at squarespace.com/macOSken for a free trial. Then when you're ready to launch, use offer code macOSken to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Put yourself out there with Squarespace. Go to squarespace.com/macOSken for a free trial. Then use offer code macOSken for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Squarespace, the all-in-one platform for growing your presence online. Get started today at squarespace.com/macOSken. Movement on Apple's American manufacturing program. The Cupertino company issued a press release Thursday announcing 4 new members for the AMP: Bosch, Cirrus Logic, TDK, and Qnity Electronics. The release says the 4 will manufacture essential materials and components in the U.S. for Apple products sold globally. The release also has Apple planning to spend $400 million for those new programs through 2030. Yeah, I know $400 million is nothing to laugh at, but Apple says that $400 million accelerates the momentum of AMP, a key part of Apple's $600 billion 4-year commitment to U.S. manufacturing and innovation. As for what the new partners will do, Bosch will work with Apple and its chip partner TSMC to produce integrated circuits for Bosch's new sensing hardware. Those are said to be essential for features like crash detection, activity tracking, and elevation in Apple products. Cirrus Logic will work with Apple and Global Foundries to establish new semiconductor process technologies at Global Foundries' facility in Malta, New York. That'll help Cirrus develop mixed signal solutions for a number of Apple applications like Face ID systems. TDK will continue its 30-year partnership with Apple, making sensors for Apple in the U.S. for the first time. And Qnity Electronics and HD Microsystems will provide cutting-edge materials and technologies that Apple says are essential for semiconductor manufacturing and advanced electronics. News of 2 more features in the blankOS 26.4 updates. One fun, one less so. Actually, I'm not sure either one's terribly fun, though one is decidedly unfun. Maybe even double plus unfun. We'll start with that one first. Engadget says iOS 26.4 has brought an age verification requirement to the UK. According to the report, the company now requires users in the region to verify their ages and to prove they're 18 years old or above before they can access certain services or features or take certain actions on their account. The users can do that in settings by linking a credit card to their account or scanning an ID. If you're in the UK, you've updated to iOS 26.4 and you haven't been asked for age verification, that's because they already know. For people who've had an Apple account for a while, Engadget says the company will check if they already have a payment method on file that can prove they're of age. Now, for users who don't want to submit to age verification, remember those services or features you might not be able to access? Apple indicates that it will turn on its web content filter and communication safety features for folks under 18 and or those who cannot or will not prove that they're not. That means iOS 26.4 can restrict users from accessing specific websites on Safari and third-party browsers, according to Engadget, as well as warn users when they're receiving or sending images and videos containing nudity. Now, I assume that this was Apple going along with a legal requirement. Engadget says that is not the case. Ofcom, the UK's communications regulator, is quoted in the piece praising Apple for the move, one it was apparently not required to make. No, I don't think kids should have access to porn. I'm also not stoked about Apple exercising the ability to block what users can see from the OS level. Because, to riff on a common concern, a roadblock used for good reasons could be used for bad reasons too. The other new feature that's maybe more fun, a piece from 9to5Mac says the 26.4 updates for iOS, iPadOS, and macOS have brought new features for FreeForm for people subscribed to Apple Creator Studio. The new features include AI image creation tools that are said to be more powerful than those in Image Playground, with more granular control as well, advanced editing tools that include upscaling of low-res images and AI-driven crop suggestions, and a premium content library with Apple-curated videos, graphics, backgrounds, and illustrations, similar to the libraries found in paid versions of Pages, Numbers, and Keynote. And now I have a question for you guys and gals. Are you a FreeForm user? Also, are you subscribed to Apple Creator Studio? I'm asking for a friend named Ben Schmay. Let me know, and let me know your thoughts. info@macosken.com. Apps with declared medical status will soon have to declare that status in the App Store. In fact, new apps already have to. A piece from Mac Rumors ran news of a change for Apple developers on Thursday. According to that, apps in its app stores from the European Economic Area, the UK, and the US that are regulated and primarily medical in nature will need to say so on their App Store information page. That's said to include standalone apps as well as apps that are part of a system for medical purposes like diagnosis, prevention, monitoring, and treatment of diseases and psychological conditions. The designation regulation is a requirement for new apps as of this week. Existing apps will need to provide a status by early 2027, according to the report. Mac Rumors says those that do not will not be able to submit app updates. More news in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, NordLayer, a toggle-ready network security platform built for today's business. I had a listener write in yesterday with a question. When you say NordLayer is toggle-ready, what does that mean? Well, it's not a technical term. Saying the service is toggle-ready speaks to NordLayer's ease of use and the speed with which you can deploy it. That's tons of security, including VPN, threat protection, and zero-trust architecture that is simple to set up and manage. And NordLayer has your back with step-by-step onboarding and 24/7 support. Then there's the partnership with CrowdStrike, bringing Falcon endpoint protection to small and mid-sized businesses. That is enterprise-grade security that's toggle-ready and totally affordable. Rates start at just $8 per user per month. They got special rates for teams with 100 seats or more and an exclusive offer for macOS Ken listeners. Get up to 22% off NordLayer yearly plans plus 10% on top with offer code macOSken-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSken. Try it risk-free with their 14-day money-back guarantee. NordLayer, toggle-ready network security built for your business. Get savings on top of savings with offer code macOSken-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOSken. The road from here to Apple's on-device AI models may still go through Google's headquarters. Mac Rumors highlights a report from The Information that says Apple can boil down Google Gemini into smaller models able to run on Apple devices. Called Distillation, the piece on the piece explains that Apple can ask the main Gemini model to perform a series of tasks that provide high-quality results with a rundown of the reasoning process. Apple can feed the answers and reasoning information that it gets from Gemini to train smaller, cheaper models. With this process, the smaller models are able to learn the internal computations used by Gemini, producing efficient models that have Gemini-like performance, but require less computing power. The Cupertino company is said to have hit some stumbling blocks due to Gemini's focus on chatbot and coding applications. Not always what Apple is looking for. Still, such distillation could move Apple further along in its edge AI aspirations. That could mean powerful AI on your iPhone. A few stories now from TV land. Apple's announced a sci-fi thriller that you can go ahead and forget about for the time being. The company issued a press release Thursday announcing Liminal, an Apple Original Films title based on the graphic novel Telepaths. Vanessa Kirby and Yahya Abdul-Mateen II will star, with Louis Leterrier to direct. With no plot laid out and no other cast members announced, could be well over a year before premiere dates and details are announced. That's why I say you can probably go ahead and forget about this one for now. Much closer on the viewing horizon, Apple says the Spanish-language crime drama series Women in Blue will be back this summer. Set in 1970 and inspired by true events, Apple's Season 1 description said Women in Blue tells the story of 4 women who defy the ultra-conservative norms of the time and join Mexico's first female police force, only to discover that their squad is a publicity stunt to distract the media from a brutal serial killer. Of course, the women didn't know it was a publicity stunt when they signed up. They signed up to do police work and fight crime, which they go ahead and do anyway. In another Thursday press release, the Cupertino streamer says the series will follow the same cast from the first season on a new case. The first season is available to stream now on Apple TV. Women in Blue Season 2 starts its run with 1 episode on Wednesday, the 12th of August. The Apple TV watching world is drawing closer to Widow's Bay. Mac Rumors had Apple dropping the shortest of teasers for the horror comedy series about a quaint island town 40 miles off the coast of New England with something lurking beneath the surface. Matthew Rhys, Kato Flynn, and Stephen Root are among the show's stars. The first 3 episodes hit Apple TV on Wednesday, the 29th of April. As mentioned earlier, the teaser is super short and yet still manages to be pretty creepy. You can see it for yourself on YouTube. One more bit of Apple TV news. The penultimate season of For All Mankind has blasted off. Seasons 1 through 4 can be streamed in their entirety on Apple TV. The first episode of Season 5 is also available now. And finally today, news of a cancellation, not for an Apple TV show, but for an Apple computer. 9to5Mac says Apple has discontinued the Mac Pro with no plans for an update. The most recent version was introduced in 2019 with Intel inside. The model was updated with Apple Silicon M2 Ultra processors in 2023 and it's kind of languished ever since. The fact that Apple outed the M3 Ultra last year without a Mac Pro update probably should have been a clue. I did see one funny thing about the discontinuation. It was a piece from Mac Rumors pointing out that Apple also discontinued the optional $700 Mac Pro wheels. With the discontinuation of Mac Pro, Apple now sells 3 desktops and 3 laptops with 1 million customizations along the way. macOS Can, brought to you by me and sponsored by Squarespace. Get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain with offer code macOSCan at squarespace.com/macOScan. This show is also sponsored by NordLayer, toggle-ready network security built for your business. Get savings on top of savings with offer code macOScan-10-NordLayer at nordlayer.com/macOScan. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media, online at backbeatmedia.com. You can find me on Mastodon, macOScan at mastodon.social. You can also send me an email, info@macOScan.com. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.